to get back into alignment and connection within. My name is Amy Ballantyne. Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. I'm so excited to have my guest Stephanie here today. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
So great. So, Stephanie, you have many, many beautiful things that you help people with. I've got you help heal the inner child, karmic patterns, conditioned beliefs. I want to jump into all of these things. But before we do that, I'd love to hear, have you ever had a time in your life where you were a people pleaser and what happened for you?
100%. 100%. I so identify with the name of this podcast. Absolutely. I was conditioned from a very young age to give my power away and to people please. And, we're so taught from such a young age that, in order for everyone else to be happy, you have to be able to give to them. And so I found myself at this very young age. I mean, we're talking probably 7, 8 years old, wanting to please the adults around me, please the people around me, which as I grew, ended up being something that affected relationships as I got older. I would find myself wanting to please partners or please, the people who I was in relationships with at the expense of my own inner happiness, at the expense of my own. So I was the person who always tried to keep everybody happy, the energy calm in the room. I mean, anything that I could do. At one point, I got to a point where if I could see that there was going to be a potential problem, I would try to jump in front of the problem to keep people from getting upset or because it was like I could see what was going to happen, and I would jump in for that bullet so someone else wouldn't have to take that bullet. And so, yeah, I totally people pleaser. I call myself a recovering
Me
people.
too. I am so a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. I like to start with that question for lots of our guests because it helps show each of us that we're not alone. We're not going through these thoughts and feelings on our own. And I think that helps us to realize, okay, if she can over here step into a new version of herself where people pleasing isn't happening to the same degree, then I can do that too, right? And we're empowering each other with those steps that we're taking.
absolutely.
Amazing. So I'd love to hear divine soul journey. How did you get to this place of being the guide of divine soul journey?
So I went through a pretty big spiritual awakening back in 2016, 2017. I had a really big heart opening experience, and I was just little Miss Go, Go, Go. I had achieved a lot by a very young age, and I had done those things because it had been so much in my mind and ingrained in my mind that in order to be happy, you have to have this or this or this or achieve this or do that. And it was just kept going, kept going, kept going. And I got myself to a point where I was suppressing my inner voice, and I got to a point where I got sick and my body shut down on me. And I was forced to feel. I was forced to slow down and really allow myself to kind of look at everything that I had been suppressing over the years. And that's a big part of what I teach, is how the slowdown really is the level up, and you had to tune into your intuitive knowing. And so during that time, there was nothing that I could do. My body, I was forced to rest. The whole process took 4 to 6 weeks, and I was just in bed constantly. And as I was in bed, I was at this point where I had realized that maybe I was choosing fear over love more than I was love over fear.
Wow.
What I mean by that was I was doing what so many of us do without even realizing that we're doing it. And I was choosing anxiety over hope. I was choosing, worry over contentment. I was choosing all of these things that were not serving me because I had been conditioned to do that. And so as soon as I started allowing myself to get back into alignment with the frequency of love, I started having all these epiphanies around who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was heavily guided during that time to start Divine Soul Journey. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. I just knew that I wanted to help people. And it was almost like I had to go through this initiation period of doing all the things I was doing: burnout, people pleasing, choosing fear over love, not honoring my inner voice, not honoring my beautiful intuitive gifts. I'm a medium and I'm a highly intuitive empath. And I had been so conditioned not to listen to my inner voice because all the people around me were telling me wrong. And so as I gave my power away, I just assumed that they were right. All of a sudden, the chapters began to make sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder I've always felt so different. No wonder I've always been little miss sensitive and I can feel the energy shift in the room and I don't want the energy to shift in the room, which is why I gave my power away and, all that stuff. And it was like, I just
Yeah.
wanted everything to feel good. So all of it began to make sense. And there were certain chapters as I grew up that I went, man, why did that happen to me? As I hit this initial awakening period, I went, there it is. There it is. That's why this happened at 17. That's why this happened at this age. That's why I had to go through that. Boom. And it was because I allowed myself to get quiet.
Mm.
When I allowed myself to get quiet and really tune into what my heart was saying and hush this and what this was telling me I needed to do, and
Yeah.
that's when Divine Soul Journey was birthed. And it took about 2 years for me to really birth it out. I
Mhm.
didn't quite know what it was going to look like, but I just slowly followed the steps that were being shown to me. And I
Mm.
still do that to this day. Every time the universe says, hey, you need to do this, I go, okay. And I just kind of trust, and something, leads me to a new opportunity.
Beautiful. So to recap there was a key time where you needed to really listen to your heart and turn off what that thought process was maybe, you know, inserting those fears or doubts, all of the things that sometimes the brain brings in, but really tuning into your heart. That's huge.
It was
That's
huge. And
yeah.
so many of us don't do it. And it's because we've been so conditioned that the mind is to be in control, when in
Mhm.
all reality, it's the will of the heart. And if we can just train our mind to be the tool that it is. So the heart says, I want to do this. And the head, it always tries to talk us out of this inner wisdom because it's quote unquote illogical, right?
Mm.
Because it's
Yes.
designed to keep us safe. That's it. That's all the brain is designed to do, is to keep us safe. It's not going to honor the inner wisdom, and the heart knows things that the mind would never understand. But
Yes.
if we can just say, hey, this is what I want, and get ourselves to say, okay, this is the tool to help us achieve that, that's how we find our balance. And that's how we can stop our power away and stop people pleasing.
Yeah. Wow. So great. So when you are thinking about individuals who come to do work with you or be in your presence, they want to get a deeper connection with themselves so that they can listen to their heart more. Where do you start with them?
Inner child work. Because a
Mm.
lot of this a lot of this happens, they learn this pattern as young children. This is, if they were to really look back, they would say, okay, my mom's been doing this, my grandmother did this, my grandfather did this, my dad did this. This is a family pattern where we've all given our power away, or we haven't been brave enough to trust our heart and go create our own thing. We just keep doing the same thing on repeat.
Mm.
And I talked to them about, when was the last time they truly honored that little girl or that little boy inside of them? Because we cannot develop our intuition until we start honoring him or her. We just
Wow.
can't.
Mhm.
We absolutely can't. And we can't hide from ourselves. So the second I start working with people, I say, hey, let's check in. And I walk them through a meditation. And all of a sudden they realize that there is a younger version of themselves popping in at age 6 or age 19 or age 15 or 23 or whatever. And they realize that they had been giving their power away since that time, or there
Yeah.
was something that happened at that time. And they're here to break that particular pattern.
Wow. Wow. I
Mhm.
love that you talk about that. That's something that's work that I also bring up as well with my clients around, you know, when they're feeling a lack of worthiness, I like to bring them back to that place of, show me if you have one, show me a baby picture of yourself. That small human is still in there. It might be grown up a bit. The
Yeah.
body might be bigger, but that small human is still there, and the fact that you're talking about this is part of the healing journey. is
It's a
incredible.
huge part of it. And then once you have that clarity, offering yourself the grace and the
Mm,
compassion that now that you know better, you're going to do better, and that you
yes.
did as best as you could up until that time. But that's all that Earth is I call it Earth School.
Yeah.
We're just all here mastering our curriculums. And the test is, are we going to be true to ourselves? Are we going to listen to ourselves? Are we going to honor our hearts? And then as I got moved through, are we going to continue to choose love over fear or fear over love? What are we
I
going
love
to do?
that. So you are of the belief that, this is a spiritual journey. We're on this path of growth.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a big part of why my business's name is Divine Soul Journey. Is I came
Mhm.
up with that name. It was so interesting. I kept seeing the word soul, and then I kept seeing the word journey, and then I kept seeing things that reminded me that I myself was a divine being, that I was an extension
Mm.
of creation. And I
Yeah.
was like, Divine Soul Journey. That's exactly what this is.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So what are the ways in practical terms, what are the ways that people do work with you? You have groups or individual, how does that work?
Yeah, so I have one-on-one sessions. Obviously, like I said, I'm a medium, so I do
Mm.
help people connect with spirit, which ultimately connects them back to themselves.
Yeah.
So I do have readings that I do offer, but I also offer one-on-one and group coaching. So I have several
Okay.
different programs that people can work with me. One of the things that a lot of people pleasers would probably really enjoy is my 90-day accelerator program, because it helps
Mm.
them get back in touch with themselves,
Mm.
heal that codependency that's going on inside of them,
Yeah.
and really allow them to start becoming the energetic match of what it is that they're desiring.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, so we've got these people who are putting themselves last. You have this program that helps with what you just said, codependency, and
Mhm.
where where do you feel are the biggest stumbling blocks for people who come work with you that you see the most often?
Choosing fear over love.
Mm.
So basically, getting themselves to a point where they've done everything right by society's term. They've, achieved the relationship that they're supposed to be in. They've had the children. They've, bought the house. They've got everything that it looks like they're happy on the outside,
Right.
but they're dying inside.
Yeah.
And they're with someone who they're not isn't the love of their life, but they're with them. They may have love for them, but neither one is feeling completely fulfilled, or
Mm.
they're enabling each other's bad habits. I also work with a lot of people who are sensitive, like myself, who know that they're very different, but they've continued to be the people pleasers in the family, or the healer in the family, or, continually giving their power away. And
Yeah.
I also work with a lot of people who are going through a spiritual awakening, and they're realizing very much so that there's more to them than this meat suit, and that they're a spiritual being.
Yes, the meat suit.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And so they just kind of go, most of the time people will say, I don't even know how I found you, or how I
Mm.
stumbled across this interview, or how I stumbled across your Instagram or whatnot. But you were saying the exact thing that I needed to hear at that time. And I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling this. So most of the time, to sum it up, people who kind of work with me, whether they're a healer themselves, because I do help healers kind of start their own businesses in that way,
Mm.
or if they're just kind of starting on the path, they come to me because they're being guided to do something different, and their head keeps trying to talk them out of what their heart knows.
Wow.
So that's kind of the pattern I've seen over the last few years.
And start listening to the heart, right? So you said something that caught my attention. The healer in the family. What does that mean?
This is the person who um, is here to heal generational trauma. They're the
Mm.
ones who are doing things differently. They're the ones who
Oh,
think differently. differently. A lot of times these people are considered the black sheep of the family because they're the one who stands out so much from the family.
Mhm.
The one who you go, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to so and so about this because they always have great perspectives, and I always feel better after I talk to him. I always feel better after I talk to her. Yep, they're the podcasters in the family. They're the ones that are wanting to help people. They're the ones who, honestly, the people pleasers are probably the ones who are the healers in the family.
Wow.
I often say that it's the people who, your phone rings 85 times a day because those people are coming in to take what, and they don't know any better, but an energy off of you to feel
Mhm.
better because they're so frazzled. Those are typically the healers in the family.
Wow, wow, no wonder I connected with that comment. That's so interesting. My mind is going. Okay, so Amy, focus, focus. I'm here on a podcast, but I want to learn about being a healer in the family. Okay. So, I love, as I was preparing for this, I was reading a little bit on your website, and it said to drench yourself in your own divinity. Oh my gosh, I love these words. Love these words. How how might a person begin that journey?
Self love by honoring themselves, accepting themselves, and tuning into your own vibration without allowing the noise around you to muffle what you know as a soul to be true to your very core.
Mm,
So, this would be, yet again, we're going to hit this really hard on this podcast, honoring your heart. And
mm,
it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else, it only needs to make sense to you. Because as you allow yourself to follow your heart, you're going to figure out what you as a soul, not you as Stephanie, not you as anyone else, it's you as a soul, what your mission is here on this planet, which is ultimately joy. And
mm,
so as you do that and you say, hey, I want to do this, but mom, dad, or whomever else in the family goes, but that's not the way we've always done it,
mhm,
you still go, you know what? Yeah, it may not be the way that we've always done it, but I'm going to break that pattern, and I'm going to honor my inner voice, and I'm going to go after this, or I'm going to experience this in this kind of a way. I'm going to break this wide open here. And you start to just honor your own voice above everyone else's.
yeah, honor those choices, honor those desires. Yeah, I hear you. So, as we wrap up our conversation today, I know you've got the Happy Empaths workbook, the
Mhm.
Happy Empaths, I think it's called Little Book of Affirmations. Did I
It is.
remember that right? Yes,
Yeah,
okay. So awesome.
thank you.
Um, is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners on this topic of getting back to alignment and connection within?
Just honoring your inner voice. Really, if this conversation is making you stop and go, wow, I can't believe I'm hearing this at this time, honor that and don't dismiss it as a coincidence.
Yeah.
Honor that synchronicity that's happening in your life. Honor the messages that you keep hearing, and then start taking the step. Even if you don't know how the whole path is going to unfold, just be willing to take that first step.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. It was so awesome having you on this podcast today, Stephanie. I I got goosebumps as you were talking about a number of these things, so I feel very, very connected to with what you're sharing, and I hope people that will reach out to you at divinesouljourney.net to continue their learning of, and I'm going to say it again because I just love it. I love these words, to drench yourself in your own divinity. Separation is an illusion. Choose love. So really remembering that point that you made of that you went from this place of choosing fear to a place of choosing love. I love that.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And to all of our listeners, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you have listened to yet again another episode of Power to the People Pleasers. Stay tuned for the next episode.